broadcast.
Yeah.
We need to flip down. Oh. All right. I got it. Took me a little bit of time. Okay, hey guys. Thanks for tuning in. It is day 3 of the 30-day challenge. I'm here with Wesley Knight. He has this incredible podcast called Creating Space. Can you give the shout out of the podcast? Like, how can they listen, or how can
Yeah,
they
so Creating Space, you can find us if you're an iTunes listener. You can find us on the iTunes store. It's Creating Space with Wes Knight. That's on iTunes. It's on Google Play. It's also on SoundCloud as well. We're about to be on Spotify. So we're working our way up, and Erin's going to take us to the next level. So
Sweet.
Check us out.
He also did a really awesome podcast with my beautiful wife, Erin McLeod. You got to check that one out. Very good. So we're just in the middle of it, actually. So we're going to give you a little teaser of how it's going down, and so you guys hopefully get a little more inspiration on day 3. Also, I wanted to, before we get into it, like a shout out to Wes, because he every single day he's either on Instagram or creating space for his new podcast, and he suggested kind of rewiring your brain. And a lot of you guys have seen my goals and my dreams on that sheet that I put out there, and it talks about being a confident human being, and Wes basically created this track of really inspiring things, like positive affirmations, and he's rewiring his brain to be kind to himself, compassionate, but also build this confidence and belief in himself. So
here's the one thing that I realized is that in being a pro athlete, and much like Erin has been, we developed this mindset where we're always comparing, right? And we're always trying to be the best in the room or the best on the field or whatever. So I realized that those thoughts don't serve me anymore, and I need to figure out how to create new ones. So how do you get good at a soccer kick? You have to repeat it over and over again.
Yeah.
So you put that same method into this, and this is the question that we're going to pick back up on the podcast with Erin. It's, what do you do every day that helps you reframe your mindset to serve you better? So let's check it out. All right.
Back to business.
So we'll jump off. The question was framed just that. What do you do every day that helps you turn that mindset into an advantage? And I'll throw it right. Like I'll hit it right here.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, comparing myself constantly served its purpose for a really long time. But I got into this habit where it was like, I've got to be better, I've got to be better, I've got to be better. And I was always so focused on I have to be better that I never really stopped to realize I was enough. So for me, that's always been my battle. I've always been like, I've got to be a confident keeper, I've got to really believe in myself, all this stuff. But people always tell you, you gotta be this, you gotta be that, but it's like, there's no, ABC on how to get there.
Right.
And so, like, credit to you, I was so lucky to come across your Instagram post, like, your daily, I don't even know what that's called, what was that called?
The story,
yeah.
Daily Instagram story.
And, it's so true about rewiring your brain. I've done a lot of research for myself, but through the national team, just about literally your brain is so malleable, and you can teach it just about anything, and you can also unlearn a lot of the things that you've taught yourself. So, the comparing thing just became this like really negative process where it was like I was almost telling myself nonstop that I wasn't enough. So I literally took your advice. I created an audio track where I have like Muhammad Ali quotes in there. I have Conor McGregor. I have Still I Rise, which is my favorite Maya Angelou poem. And I've got like the band XX in there, some Kanye West, like some good jams. And I listen to it every morning now. And at the beginning of my workout, like I listen to it nonstop. But there's also like a poem that I put in there about, being at the top of the game. I'm not done yet, and I'm going to keep going. And we talked about this the other day. I've been very open and honest about my process with the Motivation group, because I think when people become real, they become relatable, And then when people become relatable, your goals become reachable no matter who you are. You know what I mean? So for me, like I've really put everything out there. And I put the other day, like in my journal, I say like, if I come back, why not come back better? And then someone corrected me and said, when you come back. And it was so powerful. And I was like, you know, obviously it was a vulnerable situation, but I was like, you're right. Because, I mean, if my mind's not all in, then there's no point in doing this.
I noticed earlier you said you were a Maya Angelou fan. She has a great quote where she said, words are things. And when you speak them, they get into the walls, they get into the carpet, they get into the furniture, and they become your reality, they become your existence. And I really believe that to be true. So I love that what I was able to put out, which was me going through my own process. When I turn on my Instagram story or my Snapchat story, it's me really talking to myself. And then talking to the individuals who have now become a part of my tribe, who are going through the same things I'm going through, and to know that you listen to it and it helps you. The one part where I'll go back to the comparison, now I've listened to your recording, and guys, it is far more artistic than mine. I mean, it's streaming different recordings of Muhammad Ali, and mine is just myself talking with very little audio underneath it. So, but you know,
it's whatever works, I think.
It's exactly right. To credit your point, it's all about your own process and developing a new relationship with yourself. So the inner critic now is becoming the inner positivity source, right? Like, what are your triggers though that you still have like this powerful crutch to, that you know when it comes up, you're having to really fight that? Do you have any of those that are kind of cyclical?
To be honest, like I don't really necessarily have any triggers. A lot of times it's just become such a habit that like I'll literally be walking and I'll like catch myself and be like, oh my god, I'm like having a comparing thought right now, and it can be nothing. But what is cool is now I'm catching them. And what I really learned, you know, I read a lot of Buddhist stuff, and like this whole self-compassion thing is, it's really changing my life, and I think it's so true, because when I used to catch myself thinking these things, I beat myself up about thinking these things, and like, there's so many thoughts that go through our brain that we don't even have any control over, you know. So instead of now, like, being so negative about it, it's almost just like, okay, I'm acknowledging it, it's there. And I think at the end of the day, there's like a bit of fear and a little bit of doubt when those things come up. And Muhammad Ali, like my favorite quote that he says is like, if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. And it's so true, you know. So like, if I never have any fear and I never have any doubt, you know, I don't want to like trick myself. I want to be real, but it's there. But it's just kind of, I think about having the courage to be like, okay, addressing it, and moving on.
That is a great segue into the next question I have for you. I remember your injury, that your first ACL that you suffered in the Olympics. Which Olympics was that? Was it Beijing?
2008, yeah.
2008 Beijing. You suffered that one. That the first ACL for any player is traumatic. Any athlete, any individual, any injury is very traumatic. What were the first thoughts that went through your mind when you suffered the injury? Did you know immediately in that moment?
It's funny because speaking about how like powerful your mind is. So I've been a perfectionist my entire life, and anything that I take on, I have to get 100% on. Like, you know, that's the way that I function. Anything less than 100% means I'm like a total failure. So, so leading up to the Olympics, this is kind of right after, you know, that coach made a comment like, you're one of the best, and I was at the top, and I was comparing. Max made an appearance on
Max made an appearance. What's up, Max?
So anyway, I got into this place where I thought being the best meant that I could never make a mistake, and that's what I equated, you know, to, and I got to the point where like I beat myself up so badly after any mistake, because I'd be like, the best in the world doesn't make a mistake, you know, that I kind of wanted a way out. So I remember specifically in 2008, like I remember that game, you're playing the US, and I remember before being like, man, like I almost hope I get hurt. I just need to get out of this situation. And then sure enough, I got hurt. So, I mean, it's crazy. And looking at all my injuries, I think different things have happened. Like, Wes gave me like this incredible book, The Mindful Athlete. I've only read, a couple of pages, but at the beginning he talks about having all these like nagging injuries are from stress. And after the World Cup in Canada, I was at the top of my game. It was the best I've ever played. And I had injury after injury after injury. And we talked about being like outcome focused, and all I cared about was being a starter, and I was afraid of losing my position. And so, I mean, it's obviously not the greatest to be hurt like this so many times, but it really kind of puts things in perspective.
Yeah, it absolutely does. That outcome focus versus process focus.
Yeah.
You've been through 3 injuries, 3 ACL injuries. Tell me how your process has changed from injury 1, injury 2, and now in your third process of going through your 3rd injury at the height of your career, where you were going into the Rio Olympics, the #1 for Canada, who by all testaments had a great opportunity for a gold medal. Tell me a little bit about your process and the experience of all the processes and how you've gotten to where you are and if it's helped you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important kind of to check in with your headspace, and I feel very lucky that I have very good self-awareness, and but sometimes I don't feel so lucky. Sometimes I wish like they said, ignorance is bliss, and I wasn't so aware. But I think being process focused is one of the hardest things. But what I know coming back from this one is it is really, like everyone says, oh, it's about the journey, blah, blah, blah. But it is, and I love the game. I just love the game. And I love, the other day, Ella was like striking balls. I was sitting on a chair and she was striking balls with my hands. And I was like a kid in a candy shop, like just the feel of the ball, the weight of the ball, just like the small things. Like, I love this game, and so much gets lost about the hype, about what it means to be the top of the game. I let the position define me for so long. And now it's like, it's my terms. This is me. I don't give a crap about what anybody thinks anymore, and I have like coaches too, like influence the way that I play, and like when I come back, this is going to be me. I have no one to impress anymore. I don't have anything to prove, so I'm just going to come back and I want to enjoy it. I've said that a lot in the past, like, I just want to enjoy it, but I think that comes with a lot of work in believing in myself. And I'm putting in the work now because I really haven't. I've talked about mental strength, and I can like meditate till the cows come home, but like it's about being in that moment and believing that I have everything I could ever want in that moment and trusting that.
That is a powerful, powerful place to be, and a blissful place to be when you let go of the attachment that you have to an idea. It's just an attachment to an idea, right?
Definitely.
But that doesn't make it any easier when you're sitting in Sweden and you're watching your team, your girls, your nation being represented without you in Brazil. What was it like for you watching your squad take the field in Game 1 in Brazil?
I had a lot of different emotions, a lot of like conflicting emotions. First, like, you're always proud. I mean, I've grown up with some of those girls, but at the other end, it was, we talk about comparing, and like all of my fears, I think, like came to this like to this point where like I was controlled by them. I was miserable. I would, I was like crying every day. I was talking to a sports psych. I was just in a really tough place, and I know how John treats the group. They're like in this bubble, and they have to be in that bubble, and and I didn't really hear from anybody, so it was like I felt pretty alone. And one of my biggest fears was always like I'm going to be replaced, and that's so it was crazy in this sense that all of my deepest fears had kind of come true in that moment, but in the same breath, all of my fears had come true in that moment, and I'm here.
Yeah, you're here and you were growing through it. That's impressive to me that the coach didn't really take the opportunity, your players didn't really take the opportunity to reach out for you. However, the team dynamic is that we've got to look after the group at this moment. So how do you battle with the knowledge of that and knowing what it's like to be in that moment and so focused on the goal that you have, but yet there is an aspect, and a very big aspect of that group, that organism, which is Canadian soccer, Canadian women's soccer, that is gone. How did you try to talk yourself and walk yourself through that to realize that it maybe is not personal?
Yeah, I mean, I think at first I did take it personal, but I've been in I've been in that environment, exactly, and literally, like, whether it's family or friends, or even, like, you know, we've had like the Olympic committee come in and talk to us about, like, staying in the zone, and a lot of it is really literally detaching from the world while you're competing, and that's part of it. I heard from Ray Wilkinson a lot, and, you know, she's kind of like the representative of the older gals, so it was nice to hear from her. And you know, John sent me a text after they got the bronze, and just said that he was thinking about me, you know, so it's always going to be hard not to be there, of course, but I'm really excited for the future, because I think they did really well. I think the potential in this group is, like, we could win a World Cup. I talked to Kadisha actually, like, just a couple days ago, and I said, like, we're going to do this, and she's like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah, so I know it's competition, and you've got to be in the right state of mind.
The part of Canadian soccer which is so impressive is the continuity within the group. I would say that you would probably agree that from top to bottom, your talent pool is not as vast as a team like the United States or France or maybe even Sweden. That can be debatable. But the way you play as a unit and as a group is far superior than a lot of nations, most nations. What do you think attributes to that family-like atmosphere that you guys have as a Canadian women's national team?
Well, you know, I feel it's always kind of been that way, and I feel really lucky, actually, because we've had, you know, like, Charmaine Hooper was one of the first, like, she's a legend in Canadian soccer anyway, and there's been a lot of legends along the way, like Andrew Neil, that it's kind of just been the way, like, you look out for your players, your people, and I think, too, John came in after the 2011 World Cup, and it's crazy because we finished 16th out of 16 teams, like, dead last, and then we went to win a bronze in 2012.
Wow.
And I think, like, it was evident to all of us that the reason we won that bronze, like, statistically against France, we got totally destroyed. It was like 29-2 shots or something like that, and it was like we just, like, would not give up. We would not give up on one another, and I think that really clicked for us. We were like, this is team connection is what is going to give us a chance, and we've carried that. You know, before it was just like a family feel, but now it's like we're using that as something that's working for us. Like, you know, we played France and Brazil, and some of the players, like, that France lineup is like, any coach would dream of that, like, you know what I mean? And this is no disrespect to them, but, like, just the way that we played, we're just so organized, so tactical, and that's what won us the game.
It's incredible. Family goes a long way. The love that you would have, the relationship that you have with another footballer, to understand where they like the ball to be played, which foot, which area of the field.
Totally.
All those things go into becoming a good team. You don't put your teammate into bad situations. You don't allow them to suffer, you know, in any sort of way. You try to set everyone up for success.
Exactly.
It is a true family.
Bring the best out of everyone around.
Exactly. So, the 6-second rule. Let's talk a little bit about that, right?
Oh my God.
Let's talk for those listeners who don't know much about football or soccer. The 6-second rule is a goalkeeper rule where they cannot hold onto the ball for longer than 6 seconds. Now, it is a very flexible, blurred line rule where it's all into the interpretation of the referee, and it's really a rule just to keep the game moving. But it's not really a rule that anyone is very strict on. So, you're playing the United States. You're up 2-1. Correct? You're up 2-1. You've got possession of the ball. The referee blows you 6 seconds. Just on top of the boxes where they set the ball. Walk me through what that is like, playing the highly touted United States, a big moment when you're up. I can't even imagine a referee. I've never been in a game where that rule has been called.
Me neither.
So let's talk a little bit about that moment, what that felt like, and then we'll go from there.
You know what? That moment, and I've had this question a lot, but leading up to the Olympics, actually like 6 months out, I guess, from the Olympics, I had a real turning point in who I was as a person. My goalkeeper coach kind of sat me down, and he was like, "You've got to read this book, Jonathan Lives in Seagull." And it's by Richard Bach. It's like this. It's a short book basically, and it just talks about this guy who, even if you don't see it or whatever, if you believe it, that's all that matters. So don't be your own limitation, basically. And when he gave it to me, I was like, it clicked for me that for so long, and that's, I think, really when my self-awareness, that's when it all came to play. And I was like, oh my God, I've been my own worst enemy for as long as I've been playing. So as soon as I kind of realized that was happening, I started, getting more into like, almost became like a researcher of like self-improvement, self-awareness, all these kind of things, to the point where, I started seeing, we had a sports psych with the team. Kerry Evans is a genius of a man. Like, I'm so grateful that I got to work with him, and I started doing a lot of more meditation and basically training my brain to be calmer, making clear decisions. And it paid off in that moment, because the whistle blew, and instead of being like, what the F, and like freaking out, I just said, okay, I have to get back to my goal.
Right.
And that's it. And then the next play, we got called for a handball, they got a PK, and literally, like, it was just like, okay, next. And it was like, I was in a moment, and I had no emotion attached to any of those situations. It was just, after the game, because it was such a devastating way to go down, and, of course that was hard, but in the moment I was so grateful, and I also realized in that moment how important and powerful mental training is.
Absolutely. You came up with a lot of very important sayings in that game. It wasn't as if you weren't called to action that entire game. It was a very controversial call that will go down in history as something that would cost you potentially a really big award. That family aspect. Yeah. How did your teammates receive you after that moment? Was there ever any blame? Did you ever feel ostracized from the group, or did they pull you closer?
No, I never felt any blame at all. Like, it was funny, like, people were like pissed. I remember Sinky and a couple other girls in the press just like lit the ref up, and they were really upset, and but like Sinky in the locker room was like, I don't give a damn about what just happened. Like, we're coming home with a medal. Yeah. And it was like, it actually probably helped us because we rallied. We were like, this is not how it's going to go down, and we weren't going to be that close to our dream to have it like taken away. So I think, and for me, I was like, it meant the world to me, Like, sure. I was like, I'm not going to let this team down. And I had probably at that point anyway the best game of my life against France.
You were outstanding, standing on your head against France. Now, I have not always been the best of finishers, but I became fixated on the technique of becoming a finisher. I was always an outside back or an outside midfielder, wide player, and I never scored many goals. I only scored one in my career. I was an assist man. But at the end of my career, I took a lot of pride in the technique that I started to develop, because just over and over wanted to perfect it. Right. And I got the opportunity to strike on goal against you a couple of times when I was recovering from my injury, and I was able to see just how talented you are, and how gifted, and how much time you put into it, and how detail oriented you are with your process. So let's shift gears into that detail orientation of your life. Yes. What helps you now with the detail orientation that you've had, that you put in towards athletics, that now you push in towards business? Because, by the way, you sell your art. You have a great Etsy store where you sell a lot of your beautiful artwork. You've got Motive Nation, which is incredible, which I'm really inspired about. It's like a nation of motivation, exactly what it is, to help motivate and inspire people, which is very similar to what we're doing here with Creating Space. Right. Tell me a little bit about the process that you have that you take from your athletic endeavors and pushes you into business.
Yeah, well, I feel very lucky to have had art and to be such a huge role in my life. It's been something that it's an escape. I can meditate. I can be in my zone as long as I want, as long as I'm doing art. So I feel lucky for that. But as far as the details, like, we talked about comparing earlier, and, in my audio thing I listen to every morning, it says like comparing is the ultimate killer of, joy, and also like spontaneity. And I realized the reason I got to where I am right now is because I've pushed the limits. I'm constantly thinking outside the box, and I feel like the only limits, like I mentioned before, are the ones I'm putting on myself. So as soon as I started kind of applying this to my whole life, it just like the world opened up a little bit, and now I'm coming back. I'm hoping to like look at karate and field hockey goalie training and reflex work, and just all these different ways to help my game, change my game, make me the best that I can possibly be. But the same, with art, we were talking about like there's no attachment really to my art. Like whatever happens, happens, and it's just about like the creativity flowing. But we were in Rome, a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, and I was able to watch these like street artists just like put together this piece of art in like, I don't know, literally like 5 minutes. It was unbelievable, and these techniques that they were using, and I was like, I'm gonna do that. And so I've started doing it on my recent pieces, and I guess, the whole point is like really, there's nothing that I can't do, unless, I might as well try, and I think that's the point. And since I've started this project, it's been so rewarding, like even having conversations with my mother about passion and finding your passion, and she was like, I lost my passion, I don't know what it is. And so she sent me this text like a couple of days later, and being like, before my dad died, I made this promise that I would be really healthy, because my grandpa passed away of a heart attack, and she didn't want to go down like that, and basically so she's like, I made this promise to myself that I'm going to stay really fit. And a couple of days later, she sent me this text. It was so cute. She's like, I found my passion. It's love, it's family, and it's life. I'm passionate about these things. And then the next day, she sent me a text being like, I held a plank today for a full minute.
Wow.
And for me, it was so cool, because it was totally unexpected, but and it's my mom, It's like, she's always been a role model in my life, and it was just so cool that I can have that conversation with her. And then I'm like, I can have this conversation with anybody. There's nobody that you can't sit down with and be like, what moves you? And there's some thread, I think, between every human being in the world. And so I just feel lucky that I've been able to put this out there, and I feel very lucky that people are responding. People are kind of like jumping in and doing this as well. And I'm so grateful, because sometimes you're in a dark space and you've got someone writing you, like Candace Chapman, the center back for Canada, used to play. When I got hurt, she literally wrote me and just said, Erin, don't quit. And it was like a 3 or 4 line email, but it was like, it saved me,
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to be able to help someone else the way she helped me. And that's kind of how it all started.
Connective tissue.
Yeah.
We are the connective tissue of the universe. I'm a full believer in that. Fear of being vulnerable,
Yes.
fear of being seen,
Mm-hmm.
fear of being open and cracked and exposed will keep people from even beginning a journey, whether that's a journey of noticing themselves, noticing their partner, noticing the vision that they need in their life.
Right.
A lot of people are afraid. And Michael Jordan, you love Muhammad Ali, I do equally, but Mike Jordan was the guy that, he would make me get out of my bed watching the NBA Finals and bet the runs that they were in. And I'd put a Jordan jersey on and go out and shoot. The game wasn't even over, but he made me feel like I could be great, right? And his great quote is fear and limits.
Mm-hmm.
Fear, like limits, are often just an illusion.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
So it's just a veil, this illusion that you put on yourself. And as you have found your passion, and your passion continues to change, how are you going to be able to use what you've done, what you've gotten, to be able to push for something new in your new passions, which it sounds like motivation. Now it's motivation, motivational speaking, mindfulness, and helping people push to a better version of themselves.
I hope. I think motivation is kind of a natural progression, but it's just kind of, it's me. Like eventually where I see it going is, I took part of this course called the Landmark Forum, and basically what it talks about is like self-awareness and finding that moment in your childhood that defines you, and how you react to situations and all these things. And the course is really mind-blowing. Part of the course I didn't like, but I was like, this is incredible. And to be in a room of one of the exercises, you literally, there's like a line of people, like 12 or 15 people, and then you like come and you stand in front of one of them and you just stare into each other's eyes for like a minute, and then you go to the next person, and it just talks about like how powerful we are and a connection that we're just like so afraid to have with complete strangers, and how it can really change you. So anyway, the whole point is like I just want to it's for me really inspiring to connect people and to have different walks of life just find that inspiration that connects them. So I mean, it's been helping me. I hope it's been helping other people, but yeah, it's something I'm passionate about, and I know what I need to work on, and I think the people that are out there listening and paying attention, whether they need to or not, are kind of like pushing me or guiding me a little bit, and I admire that and I respect that.
There's the symbiotic approach to having not only friends that are in your physical presence, but those people who are supporting you digitally or you know, kind of metaphysically. Mm-hmm. So let's continue to keep it symbiotic. Let's keep your mindset, which is an Olympic level mindset. Let's keep pushing those individuals' ideas to be able to use and influence themselves. So tell me, what are some things that the evolving Erin McLeod does every day that she's never going to lose the habit of doing?
Yeah, well, again, props to you for putting the idea in my head about, you know, making the track basically the positive reinforcements and the person that I want to be, that I think I am becoming. Listening to that every day, like literally every day, at least a couple times, because that's the way I want to start my day. I meditate 5 to 6 times a week, which I will always do. I'm making a habit of stretching every single night before going to bed. That's something I hope I always keep. Just that connection with my body and my mind. And I've been journaling every day, and literally, you know, it's like day 3, and it's like, I'm the best. And then I say whatever else, you know, and it's, you know, we talked about Muhammad Ali and Conor McGregor, these guys that are like, that say, I'm the greatest, and we have so much respect for them in society, but, you know, you hear some other people say, I'm the greatest, and you're like, oh my God, what a dick, you know, yeah. We talked about that. But it gets to a point where I think now, like, what I want is to not care about what other people think anymore. This is, I'm too old to be honest, like to be worried about that. I've held my tongue so many times. I tried to be the bigger person a lot of times, which I still want to be and I still respect. But you know, I think we talked about like the fear and the illusion of fear. You know, like I confronted 2 good friends the other day, and I never confront anyone. I'm like super Canadian. I'm like passive aggressive, and I'm never going to say anything bad. You know, but I confronted them, and we have better friendships now. And I just remember being that moment, and I was real, and I was vulnerable, and I was like, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? You know, like it's not that scary to have the hard conversations. If anything, you actually respect someone for giving that to them. So, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it crushed it in so many different ways. What is a part of yourself that you're now focused on right now that you are growing and evolving in? You might see as a weakness. I know you like to bring your weaknesses to strengths or make them at least less of a weakness. What's the number one thing that you're focused on right now with the injury? Is it a physical thing, or is it a spiritual thing, mind, body, and soul? Tell me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first got hurt, a lot of people were like, you're 33. My doctors were like, well, the best thing for me is to not play anymore. Right. And I was like, okay, what's my next option? No, but, and there was kind of a lot of like, you know, even family and friends, they were like, you know, it's cool if you want to retire, and, you know, me being like the most sensitive human alive, I said, I mean, I should retire, and, but I think now it's just about, figuring out what I want. So the number one is just like belief, and I've listened, I've let those people in, and I've heard those opinions, and I sometimes in those moments of doubt and fear, I get comparing, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. But it's just belief, you know, like, I think for me, it would be so hard, you know, sometimes my wife's like, you should just watch some clips of you, like, you know, and I have watched some of them, and I'm like, I don't want to retire never knowing how good I was, or how good I am, you know, and being this good and not enjoying it, like, what a waste. So
that's powerful. Being this good and not enjoying it. Well, let me kind of round out this podcast by sharing. Let me round it out by sharing this.
Yeah.
Let me share with you why I have so much respect for you. Number one, obviously, because you have worked and been so passionate about getting to this vision that you had in your mind. And one thing, you've devoted your entire life to it. And that's a beautiful, beautiful relationship that you have with the game of football. So kudos to you for that. A lot of people are not brave enough to fall in love with something, so much so that they will devote their life to it. I share that love with you for the game.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredible to be able to see someone who that love permeates their skin and radiates their body. So I was attracted to you in that sense because we share a little bit of that same thing. Although I've never had an appearance for a national team or never walked, represented my country, I still feel like the mindset of that is a small percentage. The second thing I want to give kudos to you, which you helped me even with not even realizing that you're helping me, is that ability you have to be self-aware and realize that, okay, here's what I need to fix and I'm passionate to fix it. And the third thing that I really want you to know is that the process that you go through and the commitment that you give to your process in everything you do in life, you are one of very few. And I think it's no coincidence why you've gotten to the point that you've gotten. You have the amount of individuals who are supportive of you because they see it, they believe it, and you make them feel like they can do it too. So here's my challenge to you as you move on. Continue to have that light burning inside of you, that energy that you use as the force that moves you through space and time, but just continue to channel it in the right direction. That's in the direction of light, right? There's two choices, light or dark. Yours continues to go light. And I want to be right there with you, pushing my tribe and my group and my individuals who believe that they can continue to do the same thing yours can. Let's keep pushing it for better. So kudos to you and all you're doing. And guys, I cannot wait to see that moment. Have you put out a date, the day you're going to compete again? I'm sure you have.
I haven't. I'm trying to respect my doctor as much as I can.
Yeah, so of course.
It'll be in the spring.
Of course, in spring. We will look forward to Erin supporting you along your road to recovery.
Thank you very much.
And so excited to be able to come and visit you in your space. Take a look at all you guys have got going on. And we're going to celebrate my 30th birthday
tonight.
So if you're listening on the podcast, this might be a few weeks later. September 6th is the birthday, 30 years old. Last question for you. If you could look at yourself right now at 30, what's one piece of advice that you give yourself?
I think just compassion, like self-compassion. That is like honestly my answer to everything. Because there's no right or wrong. Like the things that you go through and the mistakes that you make, the mistakes you have to make to learn. We have this obsession. Me too. But just that fear of failure is it can be overwhelming, and it's funny. Like failure is so important to succeed. So I think if you could shift that and just have compassion in the process and be like, I give it everything that I have. That is, my first quote on the audiobook is like, the victory is in the effort. 100% effort, that's where the victory is, and that's it.
Start with love.
The
victory is in the effort. If the driving force is love, you'll never fail. You never fail. Erin McLeod, I appreciate the opportunity to shake it up with you guys. If you're watching on Periscope, we love you guys. This individual is epic. Appreciate the support. Where can people find you to connect with you online?
So my Twitter handle is at Erin McLeod 18. My Instagram is at Erin McLeod 1, and motivenation.ca or erinmcleod.ca is where you can find. We have a whole bunch of blogs, some blogs by Ella, and then maybe give a shout out your podcast on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Creating Space. You can follow me for all of the stories in things that Erin's talking about. You can follow me at Wesley T. Knight. That's on Instagram and Twitter. On Snapchat, I'm just Wes Knight, one word. And I'd like to say, For those of you individuals that are subscribers to the podcast, make sure you are writing into me, commenting about the types of topics that you want to hear about, so I can go out and I can find individuals who are speaking your language and are interested in giving you the information that you're looking for in your life. So comment, rate, make sure you respond to what we're doing here. We're continuing to grow, and the more subscribers that we get, the more the platform can be able to grow and our message can expand. So continue to shout it out, share it with individuals that you love and know can be affected by the message that we give. Erin, you're the best, kid.
Thank you for having me.
All right, see you guys. Awesome.
Oh, it's time to go.
That was cool.
I never know how to